Hey guys, it's Yorkie here with some Project Cars multiplayer gameplay, and today we are going to be racing around the Dubai Autodrome doing 5 laps in a GT3 class race. I'll be driving the Aston Martin V12 Vantage GT3 car. It's probably my favourite car in the game. It's my go-to car, it's almost my little baby as it were. So here we are, just done the intro sequence, and there we are, jumping into the cockpit. Just recentering the track. Looked like there was a slight jump start there from that Audi R8 over on the right hand side. My launch off the line when the green lights came on was not great, which means I've got a bit of catching up to do, but also it does allow me to close up within the braking zone as everyone will be starting to brake a little bit earlier, compensating for the cars in front. Obviously with that room, taking advantage of that, going around the outside of one car, coming around the outside of the second, but the car understeering, slightly unsettled, and going across the chicane there, backed out and tried to leave plenty of room for the guy who was on my right. Looks like we got a fair few cars over on the left running wide through that long right-hander, and I'm just trying to take it fairly easy, just see what positions we can gain and take any advantage from the guys off-road, and just follow the rest of the field through and get very close to the back of that Z4 just there, as we try and take a lower line to see if we can slip up the inside of him. It's not a great line to be honest, and there you can see why he was just able to get on the power much earlier. It is now pulling away from me as we come onto this long back straight. So time to stretch the legs of the V12 Vantage, get into the slipstream and get up to 6th gear, coming into the braking zone, looking for a move down the inside and grabbing the apex rather nicely and gaining a position as well within that, and just trying to keep it fairly smooth and steady. As you can see, we're now up in P6. If you watch the Motec display throughout the duration of this race, I'll be flicking through the screens pretty much constantly, especially trying to watch the tyre temperatures. This track is set out in the desert. It is very hot. It's only light cloud. It's roughly about the middle of the day, so track temperature is very high. It makes it very easy to overheat the tyres, and you'll see the effects of that through the race as it goes through the 5 laps, coming through the penultimate corner and down towards the last corner now. And this track is fairly difficult. It's fairly technical. It rewards patience and very good discipline. It's really quite tough, and it's something that it's a track that I've been struggling to get to grips with. As you can see, it's closing in the slipstream to the Z4 up ahead as we come in down towards turn 1, shifting down into 2nd gear, turning the car in. You can see the slight bit of understeer that the Aston picks up mid-corner as we come into this very long sweeping right-hander, which absolutely kills the left front tyres. The Z4 and the R8 swapping places there as the R8 ran wide, and I've got up onto the curb and locked the rear axle, but just about managing to hang on to that, and I'm somewhere on the inside of this R8 now, just giving him plenty of room on the outside just in case he needs it, but he was a fair bit of a distance back from me there, and that was very lucky indeed. I just got up on the curb, the rear axle locked under braking, and the rear wheels just lost all traction that they had, which caused the rear to step out rather aggressively, and somehow managed to pull off an overtaking manoeuvre in and amongst all that as well. So we're now up into P4, I believe, as the other Aston Martin was fairly slow. The rear end again breaking loose on the power this time, just about managing to capture that slide, and as you saw that running wide ever so very slightly, that was more me just going too fast through the corner. Used too much throttle, I should have come off it a little bit more, turned in and then got back on, but instead I tried to maintain some sort of throttle input throughout the duration of the bend, and it didn't really work. So it's corners like this one that's fairly difficult. As you can see, it's a really long sweeping corner. The apexes are always very late. You naturally tend to want to go in towards the inside fairly early on, but that late apex is a much better line. But then again, that also leaves you vulnerable to moves down the inside if you've got someone just behind you. So coming in to start the 3rd lap then, as you can see on the Motec display, I'm currently watching my brake and tyre temperatures. Coming down into turn 1, car getting a tiny bit unsettled, even more so as we run over the curb, and rather than trying to risk spin, thought I'd just straighten up the wheel, go across the runoff area, and as you can see I've been slapped with a 5-second penalty. I did back out of the throttle, but considering how much of that corner I cut, it's kind of fair enough. As we come through this very difficult technical section, you constantly you're wanting to get on the power, but you can't because the car's just not getting tight enough, and then when you get on the brakes just there, as you can see in this Aston Martin, the rear end, or the rear axle and rear wheels just lock up, which just sends the rear round in front of the car and puts you into a spin. It can be very difficult to manage. It's one of the traits of the car, in fact, is that it's a fair bit easier to lock the rear axle than other cars, and especially when you're struggling with very, very hot tyres. As you can see, tyre temperatures way up in the high 90s on the left rear. The others kind of hanging around about the low 90s, high 80s, and that was just me braking too late, going a little bit too deep, taking it easy on rejoining the track, and got that slap with another 5-second penalty, which is a little bit questionable considering I was on the outside. But I'm just going to move over to the left here and let these guys through. Don't want to get in their way and hold them up unfairly. And it looks like it could be presented with an opportunity here to slip up the inside of this rough. And I did leave him room on the outside, and obviously him being offline was able to straighten up the car and get on the power fairly early, and was able to maintain the position somewhat. So just going to follow him through, and like I said, that line is pretty much bang on with how it should have been. Probably couldn't have got that corner any better. And you can see the all our drivers are trying to take various different lines, seeing which ones work, which ones don't. I know the track, but I'm not honed in on it. I don't know the perfect line just yet. I know it in theory, it's just trying to execute it is rather challenging and rather difficult. So following these cars through, as you can see, coming through the first complex of turns, got those first two corners pretty much bang on as to how they should be. The car off on the left hand side there, waiting to rejoin the track, as it looks like the rough in front of this 4-car train has gone wide a little. There's a tiny bit of contact there, and the guys in front are pirouetting off to the left and also to the right of the track. I think the Z4 just, as you can see, well, yeah, I was going to say, as you can see, looking at the tyre temperatures, the tyre temps are way, way high up in the high 90s, hitting into the 100s, which is actually overheating temperatures. And because of that, you have no grip. You come onto the brakes and you turn at the same time. It's very, very easy to lock the rear wheels, send the car around, which I guess is what happened to the Z4. And then for the rough that was to the right of him, he probably just panicked, slammed on the brakes, and again locked the wheels and drifted off to the right. So slipped up 3 positions there, and as you can see, it is damn hard to manage the tyre temperatures on this track, especially through that first sector of the lap. Just that long constant right-hander just sends the left hand side of the car. The temperatures go skyrocketing up, and ideally you want the tyre temperatures to be somewhere between 85 to roughly about 92 to 95. As you can see, it just slipped up the inside of the Z4 there. Somewhere in that region. If you get into the high 90s, you're getting very close to overheating, and you lose some of the bite and the grip that the tyre provides. And when you get into the hundreds, that's when your tyres are getting way too hot, and you have to be very, very careful. Otherwise, you will just end up oversteering or understeering, depending on which tyres are overheating. They just don't bite into the track. As the Z4 gets very, very close to the outside, to the rear of me there, went to the outside, looked like he was running deep and braked a little bit late. But I'm going to carry on. Just watch the tyre temperatures coming through this corner. You already can't see because of the steering wheel, it's just blocking it, but as you can see, the front left tyres already gained 4 degrees. That make that now 5. And as we continue through this section, it's going to push it way up over 100. Well, not way up over 100, but you know, 102. As you can see that, and as I get on the power, that left rear will start to work and increase in temperature a fair bit as well. And it's just things like that, knowing that your temperatures are going to go up and just preparing yourself for it, being a little bit more cautious. This is probably the worst track for tyres overheating. Obviously you can do it on any track in hot conditions, but this one is especially bad at being in the desert, just very, very hot. And as you can see, the rear end of the car, stepping out and trying to correct it, just overcorrected and sent the car off spinning in the opposite direction. So yeah, this is only from a 5-lap race as well. Imagine doing 10, 20, an endurance race on this track. Obviously it'll be very difficult. You adjust your driving style to try and manage the issue. And would have said if the time of day was set later on in the day, perhaps early evening or at night, or if there was slightly different conditions like more cloud cover, that sort of thing, track temperature wouldn't be so high, the overheating wouldn't be as prominent as it is in this race. And of course you can do things with the setup and also the tyre pressures as well for the car to account for this sort of thing. It's just obviously I did before the race, and we're going to come across the line now on the final lap to finish in 7th position. So yes, very good. That was quite a fun race. I did enjoy it, and I basically just wanted to show you this video to show a little bit of the tyre model and how difficult tyre management in terms of temperature can be on certain tracks. As you can see on this one, it is pretty difficult to manage, and also a little bit of handling with the car. Hopefully it just reassures you guys that it's not just a doddle arcade game to drive. So yeah, thanks very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please give it a rating. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below, and hopefully I'll see you again in the next video. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Take care.